Earlier in 20th century, after the invention of systematic environmental aids which provide almost total control of the atmospheric and lighting variables, among architecture's greatest concerns is the question of their physical integration into the buildings. This adds up to one of the key technical inventions in architectural design, the suspended ceiling, which essentially provides isolated volumes through a perforated membrane to admit environmental power over the entire area, and simultaneously concealing these ducts, conduits, and mechanical services from the side of the lower part of the room. The earlier documented use of this type of integration is A.M. Feldman's ventilating installation in the Kunming Low Bank in 1906. The problem was to cool the banking hall, but the ductwork taken through the upper part of this room would be conspicuously seen in backlit silhouette through a glass roof. Therefore, Feldman dealt with this problem by suspending a ceiling of obscured glass at the level of the internal corners, thus retaining at least some of the room's natural lighting but concealing the ductwork. However, this type of integration design seems to contradict with not only the physical functionality of these service mechanics, but also the formal aesthetic of the international style buildings where suspended ceiling is most adapted. Nevertheless, before the time, suspended ceiling has emerged as the most prominent and universally used system for installing all service mechanics. Architects had different streams of ideas surrounding the integration methods of diffuse lightings and air conditioning systems. Ones that more accurately prefigured later developments came from the practices of Berlin, California school architects. They were less pushed by the technical machine aesthetic and thus were more invested in the interests of luminous forms containing concealed light sources. In Mendelssohn's Herford store of 1924, light comes from the top of the columns above merchandise racks and from a broad band of backlit glass in the ceiling. In the work of Hans Posig, concealed and coved lighting can be seen integrated in the columns. In the interior of the Universum Cinema in Berlin, the luminous stripes are an integral part of the pattern which constitutes the main motif in the interior decoration. What is clear is that the Berlin, California school exploit the left spaces and hollows of normal construction to provide light without making its sources visible. And more importantly, these lights follow almost naturally from normal construction methods of the interior environment. Meanwhile, as international style architects started embracing skyscraper projects, it became one of their primary concerns to compensate the environmental consequences of this building form with mechanical services. Architects had to introduce service floors and utilize useful dead spaces in this traditional floor-ceiling construction, in which to stow all sorts of useful equipment. But in public areas, floor spaces had to simultaneously house all the air ducts and recess lamps in providing light to the public. This was when architects and engineers started working together to exploit the lost volumes of the ceilings and beginning to treat the ceiling surface as a multi-purpose membrane. However, the fact that the mechanisms of environmental controls are still indifferently stuffed between structural inner layers reveals that the main intention with situating these services is still concealment. All in all, the aim was to present a smooth rectangular envelope, mechanistic and stylistic pretensions, and environmental performances, but not mechanical in its expressed content.